All right, well, I'd like to go ahead and call the September Audit Committee meeting to order. First thing we're going to do is approval of the agenda, and I do have a few items to amend the agenda. After the invocation, pledge, and my comments and approval of the minutes from August, I would like to ask that the Audit Committee appoint Mr. Robert Floyd to the committee. He's our new Chief Finance Officer, so we'll get to know Mr. Floyd a little bit, and we'll ask him to come amongst us if we have that appropriate motion and we place him on the committee. If you recall, in August's meeting, we had a replacement for Stephanie Morena, and she will remain on staff. Mr. Floyd is our new CFO, so we will start with that. Under special presentations and appearances, Ms. Sly indicated with Mr. Robertson, that she would try to get over here. So I know we have some remaining questions for her based on her responses to us last month. I'd also like to add under old business, just a section on audit preparation. In review of the minutes from August, we did say that we wanted to do a brief review of the 2024 audit. Mr. Floyd, I expect, does not fully have that memorized yet, but we'd like to do a brief review of the audit, and while we have all the players, would like to go ahead and talk about how that's going in the meetings and things like that. So that's under old business, which is audit preparation. And then also under old business, we have the growth study data. So if there are any future or further comments on that, we can talk about that. Also under old business or unfinished business from the August meeting, it's just a brief discussion of the CIP program and kind of timelines and any comments with regard to that. Under new business, I'd like to amend the agenda to include a brief discussion on just Mr. Robertson's feelings and opinions and things like that about contracts and performance evaluations. You know, from an audit perspective, I want to make sure that the county is protected and that we have all of our paperwork straight given recent uncertainties at one of our two towns, you know, a locality. We'd just like to have a brief discussion about that under new business, but we'll try to get you guys out of here before midnight. All right, just kidding. I've got another meeting, so we can't take that long. How's that sound for an agenda? Yeah? All right.
Like it will fill the time adequately.
Okay, good. So I guess I'll need a motion to approve the amendments to the agenda.
As suggested, so moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, so we will amend the agenda. Thank you for that. Secretary Ball, would you mind leading us in invocation, pledge allegiance?
Sure.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessing and gathering here today to do the business of our wonderful county. We just ask that you guide our discussions, guide our thoughts. May we do all things to help improve and take advantage of the talents and skills that you've given us. So bless our time, bless the meeting, and we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, next is Chairwoman's comments, and I've probably already said enough. Let's get right to it. I gave most of my comments during the agenda amendment. The next thing on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes from August. You all received those before what would have been our last meeting in September, but that was Labor Day. So hopefully you got those, and Chair will entertain a motion to approve August meeting minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as they were provided.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. So August meeting minutes are approved. Thank you, Mr. Robertson, as always, for doing those. I'm guessing you may hand that duty over to the new Assistant County Administrator we'll have another new member next month once our new Assistant County Administrator starts in a couple of weeks. So that'll be exciting. Mr. Robertson, can you remind the audit committee of the new person's name?
The new assistant, William Webb.
William Webb.
He goes by Bill Webb.
Bill.
And he's in town.
Oh, he is in town.
Yes.
Perfect.
Does it take shortening?
Probably not.
Okay, well, Bill Webb will welcome another new member in, I guess, October. All right, so next is, I had said that I wanted to go ahead and welcome a new member. Chair will entertain a motion to place Mr. Robert Floyd, who's the new CFO, on the committee in place of Ms. Morena, who, again, will stay with the department, but will no longer serve on the committee, if it's your pleasure. Anyone want to make the motion?
So moved.
Okay, I think Mr. Giuseppino said it first, so great. Mr. Floyd, would you like to come and tell us a little bit about yourself and then take your seat at the dais? Don't leave your notebook, you might need it.
I'm going to act on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, let's act on it. Come, you can stand here, but. All in favor of adding Mr. Floyd to the committee? Aye. All right, it's unanimous.
Good afternoon, Robert Floyd, new finance director here at the county. Excited to be here, excited to get started. All of this is new, so I apologize. I think we met on Thursday, and I believe I bowed at y'all on the way out the door. That was panic. The introduction kind of threw me for a loop, so I apologize. I don't expect a bow every time, but for some reason I did that. So I come from most recently from the city of Martinsville. Prior to that, I was at the city of Richmond, assistant finance director there. And then prior to that was in city of Petersburg as the budget and procurement director for about 5 years. And before that, I started a government career in Texas in my hometown, a little small town. And then before that, about 10 years of military service off and on. Public servant for life for the most part. Had a few years in the private sector, but came back to my calling in public service. I look forward to working here and bringing whatever necessary skills that I have that we're lacking here, and then fit in with what I've seen a well-oiled machine in finance thus far. We have a few vacancies, but aside from that, they're moving and shaking pretty well.
Perfect. Anybody on the committee have any questions for Mr. Floyd?
I have a couple of few.
Yeah.
Number one, are you an ex-Virginian Texan that's coming home?
I was born and raised in Dallas. I originally came to Virginia whenever I got the position in Petersburg. Was the first time I stepped foot in Virginia. I hadn't left. Don't plan on going back. So I'm a Virginian now.
Okay.
Are you a Cowboys fan?
Unfortunately, I was born and raised a Cowboys fan, so it hurts.
All right, let's do this.
So you feel
Good
my
job.
pain, sir. It's
Your
wrong.
judgment's great already, I know, right?
So it's our year this year, I'm assuming?
Huh?
Is it going to be our year this year, or is it too soon?
After that first game, I have some hope. Hope.
That's great. It's football season again, isn't it, Grand?
It adds for conversation, yes.
I do love it. That's how I spend all my weekends now. Okay. Mr. Floyd, do you have any questions for us?
Not at this moment.
Yeah? Okay. You want to come sit by Ms. DeVary? Maybe we should all introduce ourselves to Mr. Floyd. We'll let him get seated, but I think that'd be nice so he can put faces with names and as he joins the committee. We'll start over here with Mr. Grice.
Dick Grice. I got my name on some of the best bathroom walls in the county.
Mr. Grice, a former supervisor. He was in service 12 years?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Great, 8 years.
Totally retired.
Perfect. Okay.
Thomas DeStefano, current District 2 Board of Supervisor, appointed following the loss of Will McCarty. Also native Texan, born and raised, Dallas fan, and
Got a majority here.
that's right.
We gotta vote on something, right?
Not quite as long as the Admiral, but 22 years, retired Navy.
Renee Roundtree, hi, I'm District 1 representative on the Board of Supervisors. Grew up in Seguin, Texas, also a Cowboys fan. For life, grew up watching
Go Browns.
the boys with my father every
Yeah, they
Sunday.
went, the Browns went.
Yes, we did.
Haven't come back yet.
Yeah, and I'm about in the middle of a 4-year term on the board, so my term completes December of 2027. I assumed the chair position of the audit committee when Mr. McCarty passed. So, okay.
Dale Laws, retired Navy, 32 years. I'm an engineer. I teach at Old Dominion, live in Gatling Point. I've worked with Liesel, worked with Renee, worked with Dick. There's my supervisor over there. And, I think we live in a great county, and I'm delighted to help support it the best I can. And I worry about the counselor, however. You always got to worry about him.
Perfect. Lisa?
Liesl DeBerry. Currently I'm the CFO for the school system. Prior to that, I worked for SIPSA. Prior to that, I worked here. And prior to that, I spent about 11 years in Pennsylvania and as a public servant myself. So, born and raised in Virginia Beach, I am not a Cowboys fan. So welcome.
But Mr. Berry had your job years ago. She was CFO.
It was, I don't know what to say. It was a couple of years ago.
But there's an ally for you. Yeah, perfect. We all will be your allies. We're really happy that you're here. Thanks for being a part of the committee. And now it's official. Okay, well, next on our agenda is special presentations and appearances. Ms. Sly, you were real busy last month. We appreciate you zipping over, but I know that you
Thank you.
had prepared some answers to some of our questions. I think what Secretary Baugh did was kept some of the questions. You want to explain what you did with this list?
I deleted from the list we gave you last time what I thought you addressed during the meeting, and we're left with a handful of questions that I don't think were addressed specifically.
I'll give you this copy, and you can. I mean, I know that you had the questions last time. If you just want to brief us on how things are going, and if you can
That'd
hit
be
some of
great.
these
Just talk
points.
down that list.
Sorry. There you go.
Bring my reading glasses.
Yeah, nothing new there. It's all
Yeah.
follow up from the last time.
Were some of those ones that she had answered in writing, or? Was she-
No.
Well, yes, right. We
So
got-
the
we
ones
got
that she
last
answered
time.
in writing, you took off.
I hope so, right.
Okay. Do you want this list too?
No,
Your
I
answers? Okay.
was gonna say, I don't have my reading glasses. We're not gonna be able to do that much reading.
Okay. Perfect. Well,
Unfortunately, I found the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't have them, so.
Well, again, this audit committee wants to be totally supportive of the business of the county and, your efficacy and everything you need for your office and to keep us running smoothly. So I think, up top is just your vision for the office, operational objectives to complete.
The vision, of course, everyone that has ever been treasurer has a vision that their office runs completely smooth, all citizens are happy, and all taxes are paid. Yeah, but we live in reality. So not everyone's going to be happy. Not everyone likes the way you're going to collect taxes. Not everybody likes that I don't remove penalty and interest, but it's a state mandate. That is the only thing that the state cares, whether you leave on the bills or not. They don't care about your fees, anything like that. So I do not remove penalty and interest unless it is under the guidelines of the state. And I try to do that, and I know maybe other treasurers, they might have been, oh, well, we're friends. No, I don't have friends when it comes time to collect taxes. I don't have family when it comes time to collect taxes. You owe. We collect same way we do for everyone, straight across the board. So I'm just trying to make sure that we collect as much as possible, as quickly as possible, staying within the guidelines the state gives me without going outside of them. So, and as long as we can try to keep the numbers up as high as possible, and when funds allow, ask for new positions. You have to wait like everybody else. You have to wait your turn. And so we're just trying to do the best we can with what we're allowed at the time, and try not to have a whole bunch of
I think you talked about that last time, but I don't remember. So what's the percentage? How are you doing on the collections in terms of history, future, your?
I think the last one we saw was 97 or
That's pretty good.
98 on personal property and 99 on real estate.
That sounds pretty good. Is that
It does.
historically what things are?
Yeah, it can, as long as you're collecting. We have, there was some drops, but sometimes people just hit hard times and you just
Yeah.
have to kind of see what's going on in your environment to know for sure what you can logically expect if there's going to be a drop,
In your great vision, do you project that trend into the future, that things will stay something like that?
I hope so. I would really like to get both of them to 99 and as closer to 100%, even the
So what would it
real
take to do
estate.
that? How could we help you think about that?
We have some that are more than 2 years outstanding, but it is a process you have to go through. We have turned them over to our outside collection lawyer, and he is working with the people, because if we can collect it, even if it might take a little bit longer, I would rather collect it than stick it on the auction, because then that creates bad publicity for the county whenever you sell somebody's property. And sometimes when you have a property and the original owners are deceased, their children are deceased, and their children are deceased, then you start getting into generations later and it gets real big. And they have to do a lot of research and everything to make sure all the tracks are covered. So sometimes those take a little bit longer.
How much money do we have tied up in things like that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Round number, big picture, a lot, a little.
I would say it's a small portion of what's due. It's a lot of, it would be anything that would be, we're in 24 tax year, so it would be 22 tax year or back that somebody is not making payments on. Then it would be anything 24 and back on the tax levy report, and it's not a very big, it's a small amount compared to.
Like a couple 100,000 or even less than that.
Probably a couple hundred.
So given your vision, what I'd like to do is try to help with like a stoplight report, red, yellow, green. Are we helping you to meet those objectives that feed into your vision, et cetera? So I would like to set at least 2 like measurable goals, again, so that if we're not hitting those, then we go back and say, okay, what else do you need from us and for the Board of Supervisors to make sure that you can hit what your stated objectives are. I do wonder, with smooth operation and everyone is happy, how do you measure that? Because I know the people that are unhappy are the ones that usually complain, and I'm in healthcare, so a lot of times we do that with a CSAT survey. So we'll do any phone call, it could go right to a phone survey, but how do you collect? Is it just like subjective, right? Is it just comments and complaints, or do you keep records of that? How do we measure smooth and happy?
We have comment cards that they can take with them whenever they come in to make a payment. They can take it with them, fill it out at home, and then send it back. Or a lot of people will fill it out right then and hand it right back to the same person, even if they did not like their service. Of course, my email's out there on the web address, and they will reach out to me if they don't like how something was handled. They reach out to me if they think someone just did a magnificent job. So I try to use the comments I get in the office. I know the ones online, but a lot of people can sit behind a computer and make comments all day. But if you're not going to come in, or you're not going to give me a name or talk to me or whatever, I can't reach back out to you. Where if they're sending me an email or leaving that card, then I have a way to get back in touch with them and I've had some that's like, I don't like the way that so-and-so handled this. Okay? I'll talk to everybody involved, and then I will reach back out to the person who contacted me, and I'll thank them for letting me know and let them know that we have done some training if that was necessary, or that we have looked into it and we'll make adjustments in our office for it.
So do you think, just even if it's a numerical count of number of pieces of feedback that you receive, whether it's online, via comment card, via phone call or anything, do you think that makes sense to track? Again,
I can get them because I print them and put them in my employees' files whenever I get them, good or bad. I put them in there, so I'll have them later.
Not that I want busy work for the treasurer's office, but I mean, I'm trying to think of a way to quantify smooth and smooth and happy. So if that's just starting with some kind of analytics dashboard that tracks even the numerical amount, or how many are thumbs up, how many are thumbs down, right? Negative, positive kind of ratio. Then we're trying to bring some discipline, right, and some measurement to that piece of your vision. Again, just looking for ways to help. Okay. I think number 2, Secretary Ball, we've kind of talked about metrics or measurements, right? Oh, these are metrics or measurements that you employ to assess performance in your office. So do you have a report card already for your team, or ways that you measure success? Pretty much probably by collection percentage, right?
That's the biggest, is by the collection. And I try to make sure that we're all trained as much as possible. New employees that we hire, I try to give them extra time to learn so that when someone calls, they're not giving out wrong information. And that way it helps the collection agents. If they have to go collect, they're not having to counteract what was already told to them. So,
Yeah, maybe, an accounting of staff development hours, right? I mean, maybe that could be something that you could measure. How much training, how many hours of training the staff went through? I don't know, I'm just throwing out suggestions. Anybody else have any ideas for Treasurer Sly on metrics or measurements that might be helpful? Number of staff development hours, I don't know, could be fun. Again, if it's busy work, then maybe that's not where we need to go, but if it helps you, get a handle, maybe in other places you've seen.
Right. When I was in Richmond, I was the deputy director of finance. I actually oversaw the commissioner of revenue and treasurer functions. So we had the billing and the collections in that office. So one of the measures we did that is almost tedious, but really just a count of each individual employee within the department, how many individuals they interact with. And then, have them kind of track their progress throughout the day as far as who they interacted with. Was it a random call? Was it a specific tax type? Was it, just tracking every interaction, so that way that gives more kind of metrics across the spectrum of the department.
Kind of a log, productivity log, if you will. So how was that used then? That is a lot of work if you're just going to have a hash mark on a piece of paper.
20 more positions the last year I was there because we were severely understaffed, and all about it. I mean, a lot of the positions are based off comp boards and what their expectations are and what your workload measures are, but that doesn't always fit the actual need. So we ended up getting about 20 additional positions, but we were also short staffed, so we were all there. It got better over time.
So an activity log. Yeah.
Well, they do as they talk to citizens on the telephone, because when you call in, you call to the main number, and you may not get Cassie. The second time you call, you might get Chelsea. Well, we try to, they keep a log of who called, what time they called, and what they, like if they gave them a total or a balance due, they write it down in their log so that if they call and say, hey, I just talked to someone, they can go see who they talked to and see if the balances are the same, so that we're not giving 2 different balances, because sometimes it all depends on how stuff is put in the system, whether you can always find it as easy. And sometimes more seasoned employees can find stuff faster and easier than newer employees. So they try to keep a log, that way we have it. And if they come back and say, last week, that girl on the end, okay, I have an idea of which end to go, and they will look through their logs to see who spoke to them.
I have some thoughts on this item. What you measure really depends on what you're attempting to get out of it. So for example, the log that Mr. Floyd discussed with the number of frequency of communication and transaction type, that might be one that helps paint the picture for labor resource management profile. You might build a picture that, additional resources are needed to accomplish it because the workflow has gone up. If it's an efficiency metric, repeatable tasks, like the same thing that's being done over again, and using a time metric that shows proficiency. How are they becoming more efficient, or how does one worker compare to the other? So what I would encourage is just start with the end in mind, know what you want to get out of it, and then measure that.
Advice?
Well, I would say this paints a picture of the future where the right software tool, whatever that is, can capture, analyze, provide with very little human interaction. Zoom has one. When I teach on Zoom, it analyzes. I can tell it how to analyze my performance, how long I've talked, how long it does all that stuff, and you get metrics at the end, and you customize it to what your goals are. So, right, did you have a software tool that helped you do that sort of performance analysis thing?
We were rolling out Power BI with our actual system itself, and didn't finalize it. So it was a lot of spreadsheet.
Yeah, we're all good with spreadsheets.
And another thing that the treasurer is aware of, every year you'll have to put in within the what's the system that y'all use? The coin system, the workload measures. That's more on an annual basis, so that might be something as well, just to compare year over year over year. And I was hesitant to bring it up because whenever I looked at ours in Richmond, the same information had been used for the past 12 years every year without changing anything. So that served no purpose. But if you're actually going in and updating on an annual basis, it'll show you those numbers over time.
Yeah, we actually go in and
Gotcha.
pull the figures from the previous year.
Like I said, not everyone does that. So
Is the phone system sophisticated enough to measure the total call, wrap time after the call, things like that?
I don't know.
Getting call reports? No?
I don't know.
Okay, well, there's some ideas for you. Sure. Maybe Secretary Ball, you and I can work before next month. We'll have high hopes that we kind of illustrate some of these more measurable objectives and metrics and present them back to Ms. Sly, and maybe there are things that we can agree on.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
All right, I think, what's next on your list?
Predominant complaints, future plans to reduce them, what's needed to mitigate them. The predominant complaints is they just don't think they should have to pay, or it's the same thing year after year. Every treasurer that's ever been in any treasurer's seat, they don't think they owe this, So,
Last month you said something about the lockbox. She gave us answers. You said that's a complaint that we did away with the
Yes.
lockbox in March of '24.
yes, we got rid of that because they were taking longer. Whenever it first started, they were really fast on it. Then they became, sometimes it was 2 months when they were telling us mail was coming into the lockbox. I'm like, no. And it was just taking a long time to get mail that was getting here faster, and we were posting than they were getting. I know it's a little bit further to go mail-wise, but should be more people there posting and sending the file back. So it just became a process that wasn't working. They didn't send envelopes, which is key when you're looking at whether penalty and interest should come off or stay on. Envelopes, when you talk about postmarks, are necessities. They just won't bother to scan them. It was very lazy and unkept on their side of what they should have been doing and the services they were providing when it started. So I did away with it, and it's more work for us. Most of the citizens that complained about the lockbox because it took so long, now they're complaining because we posted too fast. Some of them had complained because it took a little bit longer. They compared us to town of Smithfield. So town of Smithfield has significantly less bills than we do, so it's kind of hard to compare. But we did a really good job. Everything was posted by the 25th of June, and I know that sounds like a long time, but you had weekends and everything where no one worked. I worked mornings and evenings, before and after, and sometimes on weekends, working to get the mail posted. So I don't think we did a bad job of getting it done. It was done before the end of the fiscal year and before the end of the month. And it was, so we hustled, we got it done. I'm hoping that now that Tyler Payments is up and running and we're introducing people to it more, we had more using it this time than last time. So maybe each time it'll grow because people are learning that it's only $1.50 to pay with check. And if you're gonna write a check and mail it, I personally would rather pay the $1.50 than 80 cents, 75 cents with the post office and not know if it's gonna get there. Not know if it's gonna be postmarked once it does get there, or if it's late. Because there's still issues with that with the post office. They're not postmarking at the individual post offices. They're waiting for it to go to Richmond and let Richmond postmark it. Well, that could be the 6th, 7th, 8th, and we have to go by the postmark, and the state says it's late. So I'm trying to encourage them to use even the check portion of Tyler Payments. If they want to do the ACH, which is no fee, we withdraw it from their checking account by all means, because if you don't pay or your check bounces, we already have your checking account information to collect later. So it's just for reducing complaints. The more you change from the previous way of doing things, everybody just has to get used to this is how things are going. Regulations may have changed from the previous one that is now being implemented, and it's not as many complaints about penalty and interest now as it was in the beginning. They're kind of slowing down because they're starting to learn they have to pay it.
The word's gotten out.
Yes.
Okay, what's next on your list?
On that one, the correspondence that goes out, you made a good point about comparing the cost of postage to the cost associated with the online transaction. Does the communication when it goes out have similar points and they're like, hey, did you know you can do this and the advantages?
Unfortunately, we don't have that much room, and the forms are pretty set except for the areas where the bill information goes, like what's on the bill, what makes up vehicle details or your parcel details. A lot of the other information on the bills are already set into place, and it's a fee every time you want to change them. But I am working on, with one of my ladies in the office, I am working on updating all of our information on the treasurer's webpage, giving them more, making it so that it'll stand out, so that they'll see it and know the ACH is an option. The Tyler Payments is an option with the cheaper check rate. And the credit card might be a little higher, but the check is lower, and, just trying to get it out there so they all know. And one of my other goals that I'm working towards, and I've been talking with Ruth, is trying to get the bills emailed instead of mailed. I know the first couple of times we'll mail them and email them because people give you emails and then you go to send it back to them and the emails, they've canceled it or whatever. So by mailing them the first couple of times, we have time to get the right emails in. They won't, and then we can start emailing them solely from that way, which will help with postage and people saying they don't get their bills.
Yeah, I swear about email. I encounter spam blockers all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that people would get those things, but a lot of times their email won't allow it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but again, to the telephony system that the county has, I know a lot of businesses will often put reminders like the electronic payment of checks, et cetera, on like an on-hold message that runs in a loop. So I'm not sure that our telephony system can handle that, and not that you want citizens to spend a lot of time on hold anyway, but if they are on hold while they're waiting for something, if they hear that message a couple of times, like, hey, did you know you can pay online through Tyler Cashiering? It's only $1.50 for a check charge, and it's free for ACH. I think people get used to that, but it might be like, oh yeah, I need to put that on my to-do list. And again, I'm not entirely sure that our telephony system can handle that, but could be fun.
I can send IT an email and ask them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another way to promote the capability.
One more item on this. Am I making a correct assumption in thinking that online transactions are more efficient for your staff to handle than paper transactions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's definitely an advantage to get the word out there in the method possible.
That might be a metric of success or an objective, is to raise the percentage of payments. I mean, it helps you with efficiency and staffing. Then, if we set incremental goals to slowly or fast, increase the number of online payments, that could be a good metric.
That's what like I said, I am definitely trying to get as many of them going through the Tyler payments, because they can see it applied to their account right away. Mm-hmm. Where if they have to send it to us, they have to wait for us to post it. And that's, another thing we tell them. If you pay online, check or credit card, you can see it right away. And some of them, they want that instant gratification, they paid it, and not a wait and see.
Okay. In the interest of time, you want to pick one or two more off the list, and maybe just put a little check mark by the ones that we talked about. And we can continue some of the other ones later, or?
Well, I was just working on state stuff before I came over here.
That may help with our audit discussion.
Let's do number 5 when talking about the bank reconciliation.
Okay.
After our meeting, I went back and I sent an email over asking for a list of everything that they were still showing that I didn't know, or I had thought I'd already fixed. They sent me the list. Unfortunately, it was the old list, and I was going through it, and I'm like, I got to question it, and Jennifer said to stop, wait a minute. And she has just sent me one today after she's gone through, I think she said May. And so she sent me a list, and there are still a few things here and there that I've got to go in and figure out what's happened with them, why they're not posted. But that will be something that I've started working on. Anything she has sent me individual emails about, usually a day or two, and it's fixed and back to her. Just depends on how far back in the records. She had some stuff to April that I had to actually go back to the bank and had to wait on the bank to give me the information. So it took about 2 days to get her that information. But typically, when it comes in, it's done that same day and sent back to her to go ahead and get it done and get it cleaned up. And she's been trying to watch everything in the current fiscal year and sending me anything that we may have missed so that we don't have this issue for the 26 year. It's already being taken care of. So there's a few things here and there that we have to work on, that we're getting it whittled down.
Okay. Want to pick one more?
But, let's see. And for any of the state, I have my state audit coming up next Monday.
Okay.
Like I've said before, when the other state audit came out, there is still going to be the same comments on some of those, because I was not corrected on the way that the state stuff was put in until I think it was October. So I was still only submitting one time a month but after October, there is multiple submissions in a month. It depends on how close to the, quarter, beginning or end of the quarter it is, how many submissions I had the month. And they have been kept up every month, and every time we get one in, unless it's after we've already submitted for the day, then it goes the next day, which is allowable by the state, even if it's a weekend, it's business day. So we have been sending them and turning them in just like I was told to do in that first audit. So next week, like I said, it's gonna be on the audit because there are some, however, it has changed now.
July to October,
Yes.
but then they shouldn't find anything after October.
Mhm.
Because I think in our notes and your answering to the questions, et cetera, you were under the impression that was where you thought you had to report it once a month, or reconcile once a month, and it was every day.
I put them in the system every day that I got them. I just didn't submit the batch and the payment till the end of the month because that's when I was talking to one of the state employees that was helping me in the beginning. She was like, oh no, you only have to submit one time a month. Okay, that makes it easy when there's 5 of you in the office all together. Then come to find out it was supposed to be every time you put them in. So I was like, okay, so change habits, and they go every time now. I think we've submitted every day this month so far. We've had something to submit. So.
And I just gave her, I had an extra copy of last year's audit, so I just handed that to him. But good luck Monday at state audit.
Thank you.
Before Ms. Sly, thanks for coming again. Before Ms. Sly goes, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay.
We're about ready to kick off the fair. Any changes, procedural changes? That was pretty well established before I left the board a couple of years ago. And we have new procedures in place. We're not gonna have any issues with what's going on there, correct?
Cash and deposits, things like that.
No,
If you
actually,
don't,
we just streamlined some things.
Yes.
Weeks ago.
Okay, so we're all set for that, and
They already have the cash. We've already requested it. One thing I did find out was when Bank of America closed the Smithfield branch, we were having to go to northern Suffolk or downtown Suffolk to get cash. Well, then you had to call at least a week before to make sure they had it because it was so much. You had to have the right denominations. And then $27,000 is a lot of money to be toting around. So I asked Bank of America, I said, well, if Loomis can take money away from us and take it to the bank, why can't they bring it to me? So that's what they did this year. We put it in, they brought the money, we verified it, and the fair people have already come and verified that that's what they're getting and have it in their possession. So that's gonna make it a whole lot easier going forward, and we don't have to have the paperwork as early. I have to submit it to the cash vault the day before I want to get it.
very good.
So that was one thing that we did change, and it makes it easier. There's no checks to cut. You don't have to deal with all that.
and I know we're really encouraging patrons of the fair to buy online and buy early with discounts and things, so should be a lot less cash. I know in the last year we've passed some new cash handling procedures. Ms. Sly, as well as the finance office and the schools, we've all come to agreement, and the board adopted our outline for that and how training would happen. And I feel like we're all on the same page. That's one of the accomplishments of the audit committee in our short lifetime so far.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other real quick questions. I would think that the posting issues are a feast and famine cyclic. They're going to be very, very heavy at tax time,
Yes,
and then they kind of dribble through the rest of the year.
they do. It depends on your due dates.
And the question I would have for you is we're going to be going into December. We're just coming out of one, but we're going to be going into December. Are you putting additional, in particular since you're not using the Dropbox, you're doing all the posting yourself. The question I have is, are you augmenting or preparing now to augment the staff to accomplish that during the tax period?
Well, we have all of our positions this time filled. We don't have, well, we'll have one employee, a part-time employee that will be relatively new, where the past times we've collected, we've had new employees sitting there, which makes it a little more difficult because then they have questions and it pulls attention away. So this time we'll have them a little better established new employees than we've had in the past. And 1+ to the December collection, the December due date as opposed to the June due date is if they work more than their scheduled hours, they can take it as comp time because they have time to take it. Where if it's the June, they don't have time to take it before the end of the fiscal year. So I can't really say, okay, we can work some extra if y'all want to come in and let's get this done faster. Then, and they typically will in December want to come in and work.
Well, the reason I put this out is that if you had enough lead time, it may, and you look at the numbers, what it's gonna cost you in overtime or comp time in exchange for it and all the rest of it. If you look at that, you may be able to find 1 or 2 part-time, which alleviates any problems with benefits, but part-time people that can come in and focus on that exclusively. And if that, I'm just suggesting, you look at this, and if the numbers say, yes, that would be a good alternative, then bring those people in, not to do anything else but posting. And then you shouldn't fall behind at all. So just a suggestion that you might want to consider. And then the last thing, and I remember when I was on the board, which was, 250 years ago? 2 years ago. That the 2 of the reports that I got that I thought were absolutely essential for the board to have and to understand was one, the cash report, where we were on cash, both restricted and non-restricted. And the other was, there was a monthly report for a meeting that, the collection.
The tax levy report.
Yes. And those 2 I thought were absolutely essential. I'm assuming we still get those?
We don't get them every month.
Okay, because it's
So
really
I think we're
important,
caught up right now.
particularly when the financial director comes to the board and gives us some interesting news about what's going on with expenses. And we have to be able to look at where we are in a cash basis and, it just helps.
Might be something for you guys to talk about. I think at one point was the finance office helping with some of those reports?
The AR balancing and bank reconciliations went over to the finance department. So she was doing those reports because they were the ones doing the balancing.
Okay, and then there was a third one, which was a report on where all of our capital monies were. Or actually.
Grant balances, I think.
All the balances.
Fund balances.
Fund balances and all the rest of it. And that was, it sure is nice to know that you've got money.
Sometimes there's money left from, as you know, a bond or a fund that just kind of sits there. Mr. Grice and his colleagues at the time were really successful in kind of pulling that together and putting it where it needed to go, so it wasn't just sitting. But Mr. Floyd, I mean, as a follow-up on email, maybe we can just talk about how the board can continue to receive those reports. Okay. Anyone else?
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Love
you.
your blue dress.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right. Y'all too.
Your jacket, Mr. Berry, matches Miss Sly's dress. You planned it. Okay. Very good. Okay, well, that's special presentations and appearances. Now we're moving on to old business. I think we wanted to have a discussion about just audit preparation and meetings, and I'm sure, I think, last year we had a calendar of when some of those things happen. I'm looking at you, Mr. Berry, because you were here last year. No, you weren't here for the audit.
Yes, I was.
You weren't? Okay. And so I just wanna see if there's anything the audit committee or the board can do to help Mr. Floyd or yourself, or talk about, Mr. Floyd, I guess I'll ask you directly, are you aware of what the, audit comments were? And not that there's much you can do about it, but you're preparing yourself for this.
For 23, yes, I couldn't tell you what they are, but I know I read literally every page of the act for 23 prior to coming, but in the last 5 days, I've forgotten my name 5 times.
So let me jump in. Robert's been here a week,
Yeah.
so we have reached out. I don't know if we got anything directly from Aaron with regard to the specific schedule, but the auditors have already provided us with some preliminary information that they're looking for, and so we received, I think, some of that a while back, and staff has been working on, but I don't know the exact schedule as to when they will be physically.
I think they will be on site, I think it's the week of, is it November 3rd? Is that
That sounds about right.
a Monday?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when they're scheduled to be.
I think it'll be pretty much that week. So,
And schools were in great shape.
Good.
So it's just wrapping things up, but I'm ready to hit the submit button on the annual school report, which is due by September 15th, but there's a problem on the state's end. So with having that, that means I have preliminary financial statements done. We just have to do the full accrual piece, but otherwise we're in good shape.
And Mr. Robertson, I know that I think Stephanie may have made these binders for us. I'm happy to let you keep my binder and make copies, or have one for Mr. Floyd. It has like the cash handling procedures and all the background
we
information.
should have that.
For the committee, you probably make 2, because Mr. DeStefano, and then whoever takes his place after that. Happy to send this back with you after this meeting, but I've found it helpful. Just again, you probably have access to all these documents, but it's cool to understand what we think we know, right, on the audit committee. But when I'm looking at the audit schedule planner for FY24, school statements to the county, it said 9/25. Ag for no's, send statements to the auditor by October 18th. I don't know, it said in 2024 schools, the auditor was on site October 28th. So you said they're here in the next few weeks?
It's like
November
the
3rd.
following week.
Oh, November 3rd.
Following week. Mhm.
That tracks pretty closely. I have an independent auditor's report in my notebook, but it's from January 2nd of 24, so that would have been the last one. That would have been the first year that I was on the board, not the most recent. Unless it's somewhere else in this notebook, I'll have to look. But I'm sure you have access to it. Any questions or concerns from either of you regarding the audit process?
No, if you have a calendar when you want things, I haven't received anything from the county, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've gotten an actual calendar from Aaron yet. And I think he's the one that provides some of that.
I thought the finance office did that one.
Yeah, there's an extensive calendar in here, but it's from last year.
I'll check, because
Oh, yeah.
maybe Stephanie did that, but I thought Aaron.
And it was every document and then who was supposed to provide it. So I'll give this to you. I'll take out my secret notes. I'll give it the rest. Just kidding. Any committee members' concerns about audit, or just anything else on that? All right. The next thing I wanted to just resurface was older unfinished business. Last meeting in August, I know Mr. Stefano, you weren't here, but we did take a look at some of the growth study data, and I wanted to update the committee. The Tischler Vice did come and present to the Board of Supervisors their draft, I guess you'll call them, findings from the growth study. When they came, it was the regular meeting in August. So it would have been the third Thursday of August. They didn't come last week during our work session, but they came in August. And they presented our study and also said that although they believe that the school Tischler Weiss study and the county one should be aligned, right? It'd be nice if we're using the same assumptions, the same population numbers, and anticipated growth targets. They just needed to go back and tick and tie that a little bit. So from my understanding of kind of where we stand, the schools don't have their even draft results back yet. And you have a draft, right? But so there were some comments, then we went back and told Tischler Weiss we expected them to be aligned, and she agreed that that was a reasonable expectation given the close proximity and timing to the two engagements. So that being said, it's my anticipation that the Tischler Weiss data and study will be completed for both of us, right? For the county as well as the schools. I would hope in the next 30 days, because really, I know the schools are depending on that data to drive their school program capacity projections so that they can be thoughtful in helping us to drive our strategic plan. The Board of Supervisors is undergoing an exercise to create a new strategic plan. We actually have a retreat on October 7th, an all-day retreat with a facilitator to talk about that. We're hoping to do a joint board and school board of supervisors and school board meeting sometime around then as well. Interestingly enough, if we do it on October 7th, I looked back in 2024, we met together on October 8th, so can't get much closer than that. But hopefully those discussions will appropriately drive our 5 to 10 year CIP so that we can be, strategic, for lack of a better term, but strategic plan drives CIP, drives, where you're going to need money to spend on what things, even if they're just kind of a wag of what something's going to cost. I'd rather have a placeholder than nothing at all, right? So we know if we're going to have to borrow, if we're going to, what has to happen. And I think it'll make, hopefully, I'm not going to say anything makes the budgeting process easier, but hopefully that does answer a few questions if we can get that work done this fall. So that's my hope. I know Mr. Robertson shares in that. All that being said, was there any other questions after last month? I know I circulated to the committee the growth study results and received comments, and we did talk about it last month. So again, given the fact that the two studies are not entirely aligned and we don't have the final drafts yet, if there's any questions about that, great. If not, we can bring it back once we have the final.
Ms. Roundtree, not a question. Well, it is a question, but I know last time there was a conversation and some concerns about the differences from one draft to the other and what was driving those numbers. I didn't know if everybody got the information on that, but it was really the inputs relative to fire and rescue. In the original draft, there was some old data used from when Tischler Weiss discovered that, or staff identified that. They provided the updated information, which was significantly higher numbers, and that's what drove those significantly higher outcomes.
Yeah, I have gotten written comments back from all the members. I mean, Mr. Stanton, Mr. Grice, Mr. Baugh, all really took a look at the growth study and the outcomes and compared the two different drafts. There was one from March and one from June. It'll be interesting to see how the final draft compares again. But we did some Q&A in the Board of Supervisors meeting during the presentation of Tischler Weiss about that. What I'm kind of coming to realize is that Tischler Weiss can project and say, most like communities like you, right? Like-minded communities, most localities that are about your scope and size, would spend an additional $30 million on a new fire station if you had X percentage of growth. It doesn't mean we have to do that, right? So although the growth study, the draft report, changed the headline, and that's what I said to her when she reported on the draft, is that, we went from hero to zero real quick, right? And the headline entirely changed just with one placeholder of $30 million for fire and rescue, like a new station. And okay, maybe it was old and outdated numbers, et cetera, but the first draft we had, all the scenarios were positive, and then because of one change, which we might not even do, right? I mean, it's always up to us how we spend our money, then it automatically goes to a headline that's negative, and that's all people read.
They inserted that on their own.
No, those information that staff provided that was not in the original draft.
Well, I do have some question about that. I think it might have been two-part, right, to the change. The staff, Ms. Ring and her staff, says that they got kind of some last-minute input, right, from schools and fire and EMS and things like that. And so I recall when the Tisha Vice Representative made their initial presentation to the Planning Commission about the first draft, they said, it was like a Monday night meeting or a Tuesday meeting, they said, we've been working all day to put in the new inputs from the county staff. But when the Tisha Vice Representative came and presented to us, she said it was old and outdated calculations. So their model had not been updated as to current fire, EMS, whatever. So there's really two stories there as to how it got changed. But either way, I mean, if we don't want to build a $30 million, new fire station, then we won't, right? And then the headline changes back. I don't know, but if we need it, we need it. So it'll be something we have to consider. I'm not sure I quite have the right answer on that, but it seems to be, two-part as to how that number changed so drastically. Is that what you understood?
It's understood as well.
But I think the real key is when you take a look at the two reports in schools and the counties, is if there are discrepancies, you understand why.
Yeah.
As far as the growth projections and why different sets of numbers. Yeah, the paper's already picked up on that, right? So the draft report for the schools used kind of a different set of numbers as the draft report for the county, and they've got to be more aligned.
And what's really interesting is that these organizations have a track record,
Yeah, they know us.
okay?
Right.
But we never look at their previous forecasts
Mm.
to see how they're doing. So, we're talking about measurement in the treasurer's office. What standard are we holding these people to? I mean, if you want a projection and you want to pay half as much, just ask me. I'll give you a number.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, unfortunately, the last engagement that we paid Tisha Advice for was before the proffer rules changed, and it was more along the lines of capital management and proffer calculation. Wasn't it, Mr. Robertson? It was more of a capital needs
They provided a
projection.
model for us, and I'm not sure if that was the last engagement, but at least one of the engagements, they provided a model for us that would allow us to calculate out cash proffers.
So it wasn't exactly like what this engagement is, which is a growth projection or growth rate study. But yeah, of course, when we get those final reports, we will bring them back and talk about them some more. Also in August, we talked about the CIP program. Mr. Robertson has done a nice job of having every department, with the exception of the schools, I think they're coming next meeting, come and talk about the future and what the needs are. And there's nothing wrong with the schools, it's just when we got it scheduled. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
and so they're gonna come next meeting, which is the 18th of September.
Yeah, it's the 18th.
Yeah.
And
So
I've got to confirm that again with Dr. Kramer. But yeah.
So they're supposed to come and talk about, and before then, I understand that they're actually gonna take all the capital projects and they're gonna rank order them and hopefully have all of, what is on their wish list, ready for us so we can talk about it early and often, right? So we'll begin that process for next fiscal year budget, and we will also kind of hear what their future, into the next 10 years is. I did make myself a note, separate for the schools, but I did make myself a note from the last meeting to put a placeholder for a new ERP system in 2030. We said that last time. And I'm not sure how much that placeholder would need to be, but Mr. Floyd, maybe I could just have you help me keep an eye on that, because it is a 10-year plan, right? So that'll take us through 2035. And if a new ERP program is $5 million, I'm making this up, but if it's a huge amount of money, then we need to start putting some towards it now, right? So that we're ready in 2030. But in any case, the schools are going to give us their report on CIP needs, and then the board is working on strategic plan so that hopefully we can guide the CIP documentation and have that voted on. And I think I had issued like where the CIP is right now. I think that was an attachment in your email boxes before the August meeting, but it's going to change. Hopefully, we've gotten, not even hopefully, it will change. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from all the directors. It's actually kind of cute that they really get excited about it, and it's their opportunity to come in front of the board and say, well, this is what I think, and this is what we're going to need, and you should be looking at things we don't ever talk about, like when we have to replace, like all of our generators were bought the same year, I think, from Windsor Community Electric, like, and so 1 year, like 10 or 15 years down the road, we have to replace all of them. And it's a lot of money, it's millions of dollars, right, to replace all the generators. So as a community, you have to really plan for that. So I appreciate all their homework and hard work, and they've been coming to our last several meetings, and really, again, it was their opportunity to say, this is my wish list. You know, they all got really excited about spending some money. And we all have to figure out how to make that money available, right? Any questions or comments about CIP and upcoming work, or?
Is there still a functioning audit, or not audit, a functioning capital monies financial advisory group? There used to be 2 board members and.
I'm on it, and we haven't met since
Yeah,
Mr.
we
Carty
haven't met in
passed.
a while, yeah. But yes, there is a committee, but yeah, they haven't.
It was Will and I had you appointed to it, so it's me and Mr. Stefano, but we haven't met formally ever.
It's, I found it to be, particularly in instances of brainstorming, and you could narrow it down so it was more presentable to the board for their consideration.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea.
Right, they're laying out sheet after sheet and spreadsheets.
So after the schools make their presentation, September 18th, then we should probably convene a session of the CIP committee prior to October 7th when we meet for the strategic plan.
Yeah, so typically in the past, that committee has been really helpful, particularly when we get to the point where we're thinking about borrowing money, trying to prioritize which items do we really want to move forward on, those kinds of things. So, yeah, there's going to be a greater demand for that committee to get together and come up with some feedback.
You got to figure out the cost of money as an addition to that, because there is a cost to that, you know.
Yeah, I had that in my notes from the August meeting of $70,000 per something for
I
interest.
suspect that
For every
number's
$1 million.
starting to move up now.
Well,
It's even, the
I think
picture
that
is worse.
it was $1 million, $70,000 a year to service $1 million for a 25-year period at 5%. That was
Yeah,
very
that service, every million service, principal and interest, 70,000 a year.
But
Debt service.
there's controls on how you get to the 70. And we have never paid 5%. But that was the number we always used as the cost of money.
Did you say we paid less than 5%?
And then you take that
Significantly less.
and tie it to what is your return
Right.
for every cent of real estate tax, and now you can start blending the two together and see what is it we really have to borrow, where do we have cash, what reserves do we take it from?
Perfect. You still hanging in with us, Mr. Floyd? You're not running out yet? No, okay, good. All right, so the last item before adjournment is just an item under new business. I started thinking about this today, just talking about contracts and performance evaluations. I know the town of Smithfield recently has had lots of discussion. I actually was on the town council of Smithfield at for a period of time when the history has been discussed recently. And so for, contracts and employees and things like that, I wonder if maybe we wanted to call in somebody from supply chain or HR or something and just have them assure the audit committee or have us look at numbers and make sure that all the contracts are in line and that performance evaluations are done on time and regularly and things like that. But if the audit committee has no interest in looking at those things and making sure it's all satisfied, then I'll stop. But I just wonder.
I mean, I'd want to coordinate with the attorney. I don't know that we've had any issues. I know that one thing we did take a hard look and we now have some safeguards in place to review, and that's with the, my mind just went blank, Batiste courts, the
Surety bonds.
surety bonds. So those kinds of things, but I don't know that we have any contracts that would necessitate that kind of review, but we can take a look.
Again, kind of had to segregate contracts, internal contracts with employees and things of that nature as opposed to external where we're hiring somebody to pave the road. I think the procurement process has really, in the last couple of years, really gotten to where it is. And Mr. Floyd has a background in procurement. He was here 2 days when I was in his office talking procurement and seeing if there was anything he had to offer to make it better. But I think, and I think we're good there. I know that HR annually puts out our reviews for directors to do their employees, that type of thing down the chain. And I think that's in line. As far as, I don't know that we have, you may have a little bit better idea than HR would have an idea, but we just don't have that many hourly employees whose contract is subject to them having any manipulation of it. They're not sending us a statement for hours for work performed at an hourly rate. They're submitting a time card to their supervisor who verifies they work X number of hours, and their county employment agreement is not subject to them submitting an invoice for something else. So I'm not
And I know
sure
yours is in line, because I've looked at yours once a year. I know you.
I haven't figured out how to change it without somebody else signing it. So.
Last time.
Good job.
We took your magazines away.
I've gotten back.
Well, thank you for that. I just wonder, given the
I just
conversation.
don't know that we have any, with accounts payable that we do it, but as far as employees, I don't know that we have anybody that's such that they're submitting an invoice that I work. Well, that's not actually. I had Mandy Rogers on contract, but it is a set contract. She just bills against a, and I review those, but and so does payroll.
But the rate that's in her contract is the rate that we're paying her, and all of that is in line. Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of my point, right? Because
But I don't know that there's many of those contracts out there.
How about with the schools, Lisa? So thank you for that.
No, I don't think so.
So the contracts that you have for you in-house food service now, like EBS and whatever else.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think
you
there's
just
a concern or.
paying them
issue.
out. It's not like, oh, I worked 3 hours today. Here's the rate. Somebody has to sign it.
I mean, we have the same thing with our hourly staff, they have to submit time cards, and that's what they okay.
Right. But there's no admin person who's receiving an invoice due to number of hours worked that has to match to a contract. It's a lot more buttons up than that. Yeah. Great. Well, I just want to bring it up because again, it's a local discussion
And the other is any large contract that we have goes into the finance department, but it also comes to me to sign off as well. So there's multiple checks, and then it goes to Don. So it's at least a 3-step process on large contracts. And of course, what I'm looking at is there a contract that's associated with this payment and doing that part of it? They're looking at, is it in the budget?
I did have one question. Is there some type of a tickler file, or some type of a system in place? And one of the things that we had failed to do over the years was to take a look at a bond and then review it and.
That's what we were
Yes,
just saying
yes,
earlier.
that is now centralized, with a process where, well, centralized to some degree because there different departments have different bonding requirements. The EMS requires bonds, the landscaping bonds, then there's the procurement bonds for performance and, payment and those things. They are all tickled now, but typically 60 to 90 days before they come due.
Because I was thinking that the ones that I really think are gonna be big numbers are gonna be the sores,
Of the,
those bonds that are.
with the decommissioning bonds.
Oh, yeah.
And so those all come through my office for review to verify that they're meeting our ordinance. But they are, when they come in, they're immediately put into a calendar to be able to say 60 days before this bond comes due, let's make sure it's being renewed. And I've actually, we laughed about it. I sent Amy to Town Bank in Suffolk in Harborview with a bond in her hand on the day that it was going to expire, and said, I want it was $700,000. I want a check, and I'm going to stay here until I get a check. And I'm on the phone with her saying, don't leave. Don't give you a new bond. They're going to give you a new bond. So we are watching.
Mr. Floyd, you had a question?
It was indirectly related to this conversation, something that you mentioned about the purchasing side. Mr. Robinson, you didn't even hear this from me yet, so this is the first you've heard of it. So this is literally day 5 of being here, but also on the day that I started, our purchasing agent rejoined us here.
Oh, that's
So
great.
her and I spent some time this week, and she finalized one today, and it's gonna be the first of many to come, but it's essentially a training video that we're gonna get out to, and we're gonna get on the website and give it to all the departments across the county for explaining sole source purchases and what that means. And she identified a few things that were kind of obstacles, and I know you had been dealing with as well. And so I'm like, why can't we just create something like that? Because I know in the previous locality I was at, I did a video, and I want to do it again this upcoming year with your approval, of course. Kind of one of those how-to videos for budget purposes. So just anything that we could do creatively on top of looking at policies. I've been looking at the policies all week. So
That's why you forgot your name.
Right, like I've literally been staring at words and numbers the entire time. So just kind of the opportunities to tighten up our procedures internally, not that there's anything wrong with them, but just tighten them up and make sure that we're adhering to them. And then pushing out that education to the other departments and external folks as well, so that way they can, kind of abide by that. Because I don't know how long she was out, but I believe some of those functions were just pushed off to the finance team itself, and they didn't necessarily have the experience with purchasing, and it's not hard to do, but if you don't know it, it can be difficult.
Correct. Well, I'm happy to hear. That's news to me that at least one member of your finance team is staying. So that's good news, and that your purchasing agent came back, also good news.
I had a question, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. In the schools, we have a procedure at the county and have a purchasing agent. And so we know how the process pretty well works here, RFPs and all the rest of it. And do we have that same identical system in the schools, or you operate somewhat differently, or are you supposed to be funneling them up through county? I mean, how does that work?
The school board has policies on purchasing, and it follows the Virginia Public Procurement Act. And I'm currently the purchasing agent.
You're the purchasing agent.
I'm sorry.
So you're saying nothing gets bought?
Nothing what?
No.
Nothing gets bought.
Yeah.
No, so yes, we do.
Okay, so you don't have a separate body in a position or anything like that?
No, we do not.
Or do you have an opening and you're just
No,
filling
we
in
do
as
not.
that? It's always you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 5, including myself, there's 5 people. Right, or there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, including me, there's 6. But I have 1 vacancy. It's not very good, but
Well, Again, Mr. Floyd, with your fresh set of eyes, anything that you've seen, ways that, the county can support the schools and assist Ms. DeVere with her yeoman's work, we'd love that. You don't have to do it right now, but I'm just saying.
No, I will definitely spend some time with you, ma'am. I haven't, day 5 is all I'll say.
Yes.
But that day 5 was pretty quick and rapid pace, so I'm trying to get caught up as quickly as
You
possible.
can have another 5.
I definitely want to spend some time with you.
Perfect. I think that's a good relationship to have. All right, so we're going to close out then today. Before I adjourn, I'll just go around the horn and see if there's anything else for the good of the order, and we'll start on this side again.
No, ma'am.
Anything you're dying to say or want to bring before the committee?
No, ma'am.
It's great. Okay, Mr. Floyd, welcome. Thank you.
Sam.
Great.
I had a question for Mr. Floyd, regarding procurement. For those type of contracts, is it, a particular type of contract that the county's opted into, like firm fixed? Or are there other contract options available, like incentivizing the cost or schedule that's available to us?
Repeat the question so I can answer it.
But a major project, I'm thinking this in light of the CIP that's coming up and how that might fit into it. Say an item, gets added to the CIP, you know that there will ultimately be a contract for that item to be built.
Right.
Is the county locked into a firm fixed on that, or are there other contract ways such as cost plus incentive fee or cost plus fixed fee that we could use as part of the funding, as part of the contract?
I'll work with the attorney on that. I'm kind of, that might be a little over my head, day 5, I'm trying to understand that one, but in reality, as it relates to the contracts, we'll put out the RFPs, and then they'll come back, and then whatever contract
There's, most contracts are gonna be for construction will be a fixed rate. It's a fixed fee. You're gonna build a water project for $100. There are some limited examples where there can be an agreement to allow, if the contractor can come in under budget, he gets to retain a percentage of that, but that's in limited circumstances. But there are, but we look at those when the projects come out. And again, most of the projects are just, if it's construction, it's an IFB, low responsible bidder wins it, and he's gonna build it at whatever price it quotes.
Okay, and follow on to that, for the ambulances that we're seeing that, come in initially thought to be about $1 million, but go up to about 1.2 or 1.5 or whatever they come back as. What allows them to creep that high over the bill cycle?
Absolutely nothing. Mr. Bryson, I know I was on vacation when that hour and a half long phone call took place, but the bottom line was, they said, we're gonna terminate your contract if you don't agree to this price fix. And basically put us, we had waited 2.5 years for the fire truck, and then they said they were there, and we may have been able to sue them and make them build us a fire truck, but it would have been another 2.5 to 3 years, and we just ended up agreeing. We ended up, whatever they said, we were able to negotiate it down, but not significantly. So there was absolutely nothing in the contract that allowed that.
And they don't care. They'll just sell it to the next guy, right?
There's a line.
They would have just, the person behind us would have put their label on it.
Okay, that helps. And there was one discussion about the T-score. Was there an update recently about the shorty on the T's?
No, I couldn't remember the bond issue.
No,
I knew that was an
that was
example.
an example
Yeah.
where it didn't get updated. We got a judgment against Mr. Batiste. Not that that's any good, his newspaper. He's gone on, done everything. But we collected the bond that we had, but it just wasn't, it hadn't been, it had been 8 years since the project had closed.
Yeah.
When
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chris? Anything else? Great. All right. See you next month. Meeting adjourned.